In 2003, Lloyd Axworthy asked me to join with Human Rights Watch and a local human rights organization in Uganda to put out a publication on the scale and scope of abduction of children in northern Uganda by the Lord's Resistance Army in order to try and get international attention to the issue. In 2003, there was, the height of the war, children were going missing by literally the thousands, and yet there was no international presence on the ground. So I joined forces with this, major human rights organization and a local one, and we put out a report called Abused and Abducted, and we set about lobbying international organizations to respond. And during that process, the International Criminal Court released a statement that it was going to investigate the Lord's Resistance Army and possibly indict some of the senior commanders. And while Human Rights Watch cheered, or the human rights community cheered that decision, the local Ugandan partners did not. They were fearful that this investigation would undermine their own efforts to try and bring the rebels out of the bush peacefully. Why would the senior commanders lay down arms and come out if they were only going to be arrested? And they also argued that they had their own local mechanisms, justice mechanisms, that could adequately deal with the crimes that had been committed. So African conflict resolution mechanisms. But very little was known about this, about these mechanisms. So I started partnering with the local organizations to go out and spend significant amount of time with the war affected in many of the displaced persons camps and study how African conflict resolution mechanisms were being applied to some of the rebels coming out of the bush.